We are live. This is the Sprint Right Option podcast, Blue Wire Hustle Network. My name is Andrew Pasquini. To my right, that is Jason. I didn't come up with a nickname today. Aponte. That's A plus. That's 10 out of 10 content.
10 out of
Jason,
10.
how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. A lot to talk about today. The vaunted press conference, clearly.
Yep.
So I mean, that's going to be basically the meat and potatoes of this episode.
Yeah.
But I'm doing great. How are you today, Andrew?
I'm fantastic. Honestly, today's one of those good podcast days where it was one of those rare days where we talked before the pod because we had a clubhouse. I was very excited for the clubhouse we had today because I really wanted to hear other people's opinions on what was said, because the thing with these press conferences is 100 people can interpret every sentence 100 different ways. And there was a couple people in the clubhouse today that I was very excited to hear their opinion. I'll name names, Cynthia being one of them. She hasn't let 49ers Twitter break her yet. And no. she's a very big Niner fan. I highly recommend, I should look up her she's a great 49er follow. And she's one of the people I'm always excited to talk to in the clubhouses. And I really wanted to see what she thought. We always have Jordan in there. Javi jumped in, Leo, all our people.
Vish.
Alec jumped in. Vish, we can't forget Vish. I was very excited for that clubhouse today, just to hear what people took every little thing. And it was what I was hoping it would be. We got a lot of very good opinions, and now I kind of have different thoughts of what was said today, and we'll dive into that in a little bit. But yeah, that's how my day went. That was the very long way to say
Nate too. Yes, Nate too as well.
We tend to cut the pod. Actually, I have some personal news, and this is what I've decided the conversation is going to be while we let people fill in, and it's on topic. Personal news: I'm going to watch tape on all the quarterbacks now. So, boom, there you go. That's what I'm going to do this week.
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to catch up on the certain guys. It's just I stopped with certain guys because I just don't think they're going to be there anymore. But for the sake of evaluation, I think I'm gonna start diving in a little bit more as well too.
Yeah, last year at this time, I decided to try and be one of those people who knew as many prospects as I could. Sure. A little bit of a different time. I had recently just got laid off, had the time to do all that stuff. This year I decided, hey, I'm just going to look at 49er related guys. And when they were sitting at 12, it was kind of hard to convince myself, hey, like I'm going to watch tape on Zach Wilson. I'm going to watch tape on Justin Fields, because I just couldn't really convince myself to watch them, because it's like, well, they're not going to be there at 12. They're not very relevant to the 49ers at this point. And kind of like Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch said, is you can kind of show your hand a little bit more drafting at 3. And now I have a lot of interest in watching, the tape on future 49ers quarterback Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance. I'm going to watch those guys. So I'm going to be a tape guy. If you guys listen, who was I talking to in the clubhouse today that said we need a Mac Jones tape guy? I'm drawing a blank who said that, but you guys are going to get to see how I watch tape. And I'm just going to be honest. It's not that exciting.
Well, I mean, Mayo Mac, Big Mac, whatever you want to call him,
excuse me, Snack Jones. Thank you.
Snack Jones. Shout out to Luke, man, honestly. And, we've got some comments in here about the Seattle Kraken hat. We talked about it last time, so.
That's what I decided this one's going to be. Yes, no, I came back from Seattle. I do my best to buy. I'm starting to travel now, which isn't ideal because we're still in COVID, but like this is the first time in my life I've had time to travel. So when I go to a new city, I'm going to buy that team's hat. I wasn't buying a Seahawks hat, and that's what it is. Anyways, Jason, we got off topic. I think enough people are in. Do you want to say words about words that were said today?
I do.
All right, so I want to start with the quote I personally found the most interesting today. Quote, I want to be throwing Lombardi trophies across boats. That's what Jameis Winston said on watching the Buccaneers win the Super Bowl. I don't know. I'm joking. Obviously, the conversation we're talking about is the press conference from Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. A lot was said. I don't even think we're going to have the time to really touch on everything that was said. Unless you guys want to give us like 2 hours, I could read the transcript if we really want to get that deep. But Jason, outside of Kyle Shanahan's love for Kirk Cousins,
oh man,
I don't know what was your big takeaway, because as I said earlier with the clubhouse, it was fun to hear what other people took words as. So I kind of want to see what you overall took it as, and see how we line up. So what was your overall takeaway from the John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan press conference today?
That I want to find someone who loves me the way that Kyle Shanahan loves Kirk Cousins. Like, he had to stop himself. He got to a point where he even said, all right, I don't even want to talk about it, any other player or anything like that at this point. First of all, that Kirk Cousins, to give a little context, and I'm just being funny. That first question to him, it kind of got him a little bit upset. You could see that he was a little bit flustered that he had to answer that same question again, almost like, okay, yeah, you got me. That was the wrong way to look at it. And that's the way he was looking at it. But then he started to go effusive with his praise on Kirk Cousins, and he just was going on, and he took a good portion up, and I sat there just laughing. I'm like, this is so on brand for Kyle. One more thing that I saw from my coach and John Lynch. My coach is happy. His beard is flourishing.
He got that Brian Wilson jet black hair.
He
natural, of course.
I know this has nothing to do with X's and O's and coaches. He was so drippy at this press conference, man. I'm just like, your coach could never, not Cliff Kingsbury, not Sean McVay. Your coach could never be as dripped out as Kyle Shanahan. No, but honestly, it was really good to get the transparency. And that's really what you should, everything was, they didn't mess around with what they were talking about. You listen, we spoke to Jimmy Garoppolo about this. I think the quotes that I was trying to take while, we're watching it and you're trying to tweet them out. The one that really stood out to me was you want a quarterback who can play in the pocket and deliver in the pocket, but you also need him to make outside of the pocket off-schedule throws like Patrick Mahomes. He goes, I think everybody wants that. And that's the statement right there that I took, because, there's another quote out there about Kyle Shanahan saying that he's completely changing his way and he's changing the way that he evaluates. And that statement is very much lending itself to that idea. Like when you listen to him talk, it's clear that he's figuring out, hey, maybe this is where I thought about, quarterbacks then. This is what I think about them now based on the game and based on new information. So, yes. Yeah,
and you talk on the Kirk Cousins, that's probably worst case. 4 years from now, Mac Jones resides in Greenbow, Alabama, and becomes one of the world's foremost sheep herders with Kyle living in his. That's worst case, Mac Jones. I would agree. We'll talk about Mac Jones here in a minute.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for the donation, Matt.
Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate it. But your point on the Kirk Cousins quote. So I have a transcript of the whole thing today. I don't have exactly who asked the questions, unfortunately, so I apologize for that. Whoever asked this question, I'm sorry. Kyle, there's a perception that your ideal archetype quarterback is Minnesota Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins, and that's somehow rigid. You said your process has sort of evolved over the years, how accurate a perception of your quarterback has evolved. And so he starts off by saying, I know I change numbers. Sometimes there's 5, sometimes say 10. He talks about he likes guys with off-schedule plays, names Patrick Mahomes, essentially says, I want elite guys, which isn't a wild thing to say. But then he goes a whole half of the answer to say my prototypical guy is someone like Kirk Cousins. I mean, that's just, everyone knows my history with Kirk. We draft him in the 4th at Washington. I got to coach him for 3 games. We were fired. I left. And he's just talking. He was going to be the guy until we got Jimmy. And he says all these things, and he ends it with, I know I'm not allowed to talk about other players, but Kirk's a hell of a player, and a lot of the people would be lucky to have a quarterback like that. It warms my heart how much this man loves Kirk Cousins. And I'm not even the biggest like Kirk Cousins guy. I've grown on him the past couple of years. I was definitely in the camp of like, I would rather have Garoppolo than Cousins. Things have changed a little bit since then.
Yeah.
But man, like being in the relationship I just want my girlfriend to say things about me that Kyle Shanahan says about Kirk Cousins.
So, look,
I love it so much.
We can get to the serious stuff, but let's just stay on this because it's really funny. Essentially what it looked like for me, what that was closure for Kyle. And that's him telling his new girlfriend, it's over. Okay. This is it with him. I'm done. I promise I'm done. This is what I liked about this, and this is it. I'm done, and we're moving on. And I think that's what it really came off as. It came off as like, okay, this is one last time for me to address this. I'm going to stomp this all out because new bay's on the way, whoever it is at 3. So that's really where I was at when, you could tell that the question came up and he was a little, not frazzled. He just was upset with it. You could tell that he just like picked his head up and was like, okay, let's just address this now. And he did that. So, I think that it was a moment of closure for him at this point because of all the flirtation with thinking that. But I thought it was really, really, really good that he talked about almost how his process failed him in that draft process because he was waiting, right? And then it leads into that other quote that he says about being at 12 and feeling like you get stuck at the altar. You're left at the altar. Yeah, and that's what I was talking about. So again, you have to give him credit. Say what you want about that time. You passed on this, this, and this, but you didn't change. You changed. You didn't stick with that. Again, not beating your head against the wall, expecting different results. Like he has evolved and he understands where the game's going. And that's what we talked about when we did the emergency pod.
Yes.
What you should be excited about. The result is going to be whatever it is, because we don't know. There are many results that can happen from all this, but the process is right now, and that's really what it is.
Yeah. Definitely. And I like, you definitely saw him. I think he sees the light at the end of the tunnel. I think he was excited for Garoppolo at first, kind of saw what he was. And now he sees, he sees the light at the end of the tunnel. He knows he's going to be able to get his guy, whether it's Fields, whether it's Wilson, whether it's Mac Jones. As I said, we'll talk about Mac Jones. He's definitely happy. I don't know. That sounds corny and all that I'm talking about. Kyle Shanahan being happy, but hey, that's my head coach. So as I said, I have the transcript here.
Is that Santa Rosa High Hoop star?
Andrew Buckets fast food. Yes, it is. Thank you, Jordan. I appreciate the callback to that reference. So I think maybe the best way is we're gonna scroll through this. We'll go in chronological order. They opened up with the opening comments, just kind of generic stuff. John Lynch thanked Bob Lang, who went to Philadelphia. They open up with a question about Jimmy Garoppolo, kind of the same canned stuff we've heard, whether or not it means something. I don't know. The second question is, I don't know. As I said, I don't know who it's from. I'm sure you saw yesterday that Peter King reported that you guys were likely headed to Tuscaloosa for Alabama's pro day. Kyle Shanahan, you don't go to pro days very often. Why did you not go to the other ones? And that's where we got our first insight into this. Kyle specifically says, when we're sitting at, or I don't know why I'm even paraphrasing. I have it right in front of me. Quote, when you're sitting at 12 and stuff, I don't want to go to a bunch of quarterback pro days and things like that. Now that you move up to 3, you don't have as much to hide. And then the most interesting part of the quote, thank you, Mariah. We appreciate it. The most interesting part of the quote, though, he says, quote, also, Alabama's already had one. It's their second one. And just talking with former Ohio State quarterback Justin Fields' agent and everything, we'll get another one from him too. So we'll be able to see him. So now we can step back from the panic of Kyle Shanahan's going to Mac Jones pro day. Justin Fields is going to get one, another one that the Niners are going to attend. And I believe later on he mentioned that Trey Lance might have another one. There's speculation, at least Trey Lance has another one. So maybe we step back a little bit from the Mac Jones panic and start focusing on, hey, this is a team now that can show their hand a little bit because the first 2 picks probably decided at this point. So I don't know, Jason, what's your view on the Justin Fields second pro day news? I guess you would call it.
that pro days don't matter. That,
Yes.
Again, the point that I tried to make on Twitter yesterday was when the 49ers were selecting at 3, they had a plan. They didn't exhaust all of their due diligence and go scout Mahomes, Watson. Even if they don't draft them, you didn't. So now it's funny. People hated that. Now Kyle Shanahan has the luxury, and his front office has the luxury now of, now the book is out. You're at 3. You know what you're going for. Now he is exploring every avenue, and now it's a problem because it's not the guy you want. So this is the give and take with Twitter. This is what's funny about it. Situations are eerily similar. 3, you're at 3, but at that time, the way that they were building their roster is different from now. But it's clear that they're going for a quarterback. Like they said so much in this press conference. So that's the thing. It's transparent. It makes sense, and the fact that Fields and his agent, David, are going to open up another pro day for Kyle is all you really need to know.
Yeah.
You don't go to the first one because, first of all, you don't want to tip your hand. And coach was very, very clear about at 12, you don't want to go to everybody's pro day because then it tips your hand to what you're doing. So he didn't go to any of them. Now everybody's going to be opening up and trying to break their arms and legs to try to get their client in front of Kyle Shanahan. And I think Jordan made the point in Clubhouse. That's what you don't understand about these pro days. Yes, they're set up for however they are. But Jordan made the great point, and this is it. I'm going to make sure that he gets the credit for this. If you're an agent, getting your client a quarterback with Kyle Shanahan is what you want, money-wise. Mm-hmm. And if you ever listen to how people evaluate quarterbacks in this draft, the one thing that I always want you to listen to, and is the one thing you should always pay attention to, and not just as an OnlyShans, but every time they talk about a quarterback, oh, man, he'd be great in Kyle Shanahan's system. Yep. Mm-hmm. It's like 12 quarterbacks that people say he'll be great in college. It's almost an evergreen statement on any sort of evaluation. And it's always the way for you to sound smart. I wish Kyle Shanahan can get his hands on him. But that should speak to why you should be excited, because that's how the league and how the football world views Kyle Shanahan, and he's about to get his guy. And that's what everybody's afraid of.
They then follow up asking about, Jimmy's injury history. We know a little bit about that. We know how they feel. Then an interesting answer I felt from Shanahan, and this is one of those answers that you can take this any way you want. The question was, just reading between the lines, it seems like you really do want to keep Jimmy Garoppolo, but if someone blew you away with a trade offer, you would have to consider that, I guess, for starters. Is that accurate? And Kyle Shanahan says, and I'm going to, it's a long answer. I'm going to try my best to get as much as I can. Yeah, that's accurate for every player on our team. I mean, probably including myself. If someone blows us away for a trade for me, I bet you John would trade me. And we get maybe the most ringing endorsement we've gotten for Jimmy Garoppolo this offseason. But right now, this is Kyle Shanahan. Jimmy, it's going to be hard to find a quarterback that gives us a better chance to win than Jimmy right now, especially even a rookie in the draft. So that's what you look into. Now, if someone wanted something for that and it can make your team better in a lot of other ways, you listen to that. But it also depends on how good you feel about that rookie. We're not there yet. But he kind of doubles down on the Jimmy Garoppolo idea. My thoughts on this press conference as a whole, and I'm just going to get it out there now. If you are a pro Jimmy Garoppolo, fan, you want Garoppolo to stay with the 49ers, you got a lot of insurance today that hey, Jimmy Garoppolo is the starter. Someone who is a little more pessimistic about the situation like me, I'm not saying I'm full anti-Garoppolo. They said just enough to make it sound like they were fluffing him up, to be like, hey, we love him, but, if you give us the offer, he can be yours at a low price of, $790 or whatever it is, So I could see fans taking it both ways. I see it more them kind of floating the idea of, hey, you could have him at the right price. Jason Aponte, how did you take it?
I mean, it rings with exactly what we said on the emergency pod about this front office hedging their bets, understanding that this roster is ready to compete, and you have to say things like this. So again, we talked about it. If Jimmy goes out there and is there for 17 games and this team wins a bunch of games, then all that does is just boost his value while hedging your bets for the future. I'm not certain what's going to happen. I'll tell you this. They said exactly what I thought they were going to say about the situation, about understanding the roster. They literally I'm not even trying to act like I'm smarter than anybody, but I like when people who are smarter than I am say something that I said, so I feel better. Yes. So Kyle Shanahan basically echoed my sentiments on it about we can win games with Jimmy Garoppolo. Mm-hmm. And he even mentioned the Mahomes Alex Smith situation. And
I have thoughts, but you go ahead. Go ahead first.
Realistically, whatever happens. And if you are blown away with a trade and someone comes to you and says, here's a first rounder for Jimmy Garoppolo, I don't see how you say no to that. And I've already laid out the path of where Justin Fields will be fine as a day one starter. Again, coaching, culture, all that stuff matters. But I think that they're hedging their bets in the right way. If Jimmy Garoppolo plays well, and the 49ers are going to win games because of this roster and this coaching staff. So it's really, really, really was the smart thing to do. So, I mean, whether that means something or it doesn't mean anything, I don't know. But they said the right thing, and they said exactly what I thought they were going to say on the situation.
So we're going to jump around a little bit because Jason brought up the Mahomes-Alex Smith comparison. They said, the question was, I think in December, you kind of mentioned just running through the different possibilities at quarterback of the Patrick Mahomes, former Washington football team quarterback Alex Smith setup in Kansas City. How much is that something that you looked at when you were kind of evaluating these different options? And did you even go so far as to maybe make some calls to see how that worked when the Chiefs did that? And Shanahan's just kind of short answer, quote, no, but I mean, that's a good example. I think that's the most obvious example of having a really good quarterback and drafting a young guy and still having success that year with your veteran and moving on the next year. That's the nearest one we have to go off of, but I don't really look at stuff like that because I think each situation is its own situation. And that quote spoke to me because he didn't say it was the same situation. He made sure to say the wording, I don't really look at that stuff because I think each situation is the same. But he also says that's the nearest one we have to go off of. And in my opinion, and this is Andrew Pasquini's take on it. I don't think this is what Kyle Shanahan meant. I don't think this is what John Lynch meant. In my mind, that is Kyle Shanahan admitting that Jimmy Garoppolo is kind of a lame duck quarterback at this point because what happened to Alex Smith after that 1 year? Alex Smith gets cut. Patrick Mahomes comes in. And Jordan also, God, made a lot of references. Jordan made a good point too, is Patrick Mahomes has the skill that if he was the starter his rookie year, the Chiefs probably wouldn't have missed a beat. That's probably factual. So to me, Kyle Shanahan kind of directly comparing these two situations, you have him kind of admitting that Jimmy isn't the guy anymore. And I think the trade said as much. I think when you trade up to 3, you're admitting Jimmy's not going to be the guy moving forward. But to say that's the closest comparison, and I know it's the closest comparison because it's the most recent, I just think it's very telling that that's the comparison he kind of agreed with.
He agreed with it because of the situation and the circumstances. Again, we talked about it. The Chiefs were a playoff perennial team every single year, and that was your way of hedging your bet and understanding that, you want to give your man time, and it's cool. You're going to make the playoffs and win a bunch of games. I don't want to stomp on anybody's dreams or anything like that, but I don't see this team as a Super Bowl contender, but a team that can make a very deep playoff run right now. Yeah. So Tony has a great question. Tony, thank you for the donation. We appreciate that. Curious what you think about the locker room, what the locker room thinks of this whole maneuver. Are there pro Jimmy guys who might be miffed? I'll be honest with you. From the people that we talk to, that are on the team and things like that, I think that everybody has a really good grasp on the fact that this is a business, and that sometimes things just don't work out the way that they do, and at the end of the day, it is a business, and sometimes you're not in control of your own fate. And sometimes it's best to know exactly when it's time to just, step away. And I think that when you heard Kyle talk about what Jimmy Garoppolo was angry when he found out about it. Not angry, but he wasn't thrilled. So he wasn't thrilled because he understands the writing on the wall is there. But I mean, I wouldn't be thrilled either if I heard that. I don't see why that he would be happy about that. You're drafting my replacement. Like, this is it, so I would have taken it upset. But I think that the locker room is good. The culture is good. They understand that this is a business, and they understand that they always look to improve. And that's exactly what they're doing here.
And John, thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you for the donation, John. Appreciate you, bro.
And I absolutely agree with you, Jason. I think a lot of players realize this is a business. That's just what it is. It's never more often than not, it's not personal. I know there's a handful of cases where it feels personal, kind of like the Deshaun Watson situation before the past 2 weeks have come out and happened. That Deshaun Watson situation felt very personal. Obviously, things have significantly changed in that, but more often than not, it's professional decisions. That's all it is. To get back with the transcript, and I'm not going to touch on everything, I promise. I got 2 more points I wanted to take away.
Yeah.
Kyle was asked about his opinion on Trey Lance, and it was a 2-part question. The first part was about Trey Lance. The second question is Chris Sims privy to your decision at number 3? And Kyle opened it up by saying, yeah, I tell him everything. And then started talking about Trey Lance and then forgot to go back to the Chris Sims point. So the next question was about Mac Jones. And then he realized he didn't clarify that he was joking about the Chris Sims thing. So he jumps in and says, so he was asked about Mac Jones. He said, yeah, I mean, I just saw him in January for the first time along with all those other guys. So they've been in that boat. And then he goes, I was joking. I didn't finish that answer to the last one on Chris, but trust me, Chris talks about everything. Therefore, I haven't been able to talk to him in a couple years. Anyone who you're friends with who speaks in the media and people think you're friends with him, that means you're not allowed to tell them anything. That's why he doesn't even ask me about this stuff, because if he does ask me and I tell him, then he can't say it. But Chris does a great job. I value his opinions and all that stuff. So maybe let's just calm down on the Chris Sims opinions. Okay, thank you. 49ers Twitter, I appreciate it. And that's kind of been my standpoint. Is that Chris Sims is trying to be a media personality. He's not going to tarnish his reputation by trying to peddle what Kyle Shanahan thinks. And there are some situations, because I saw a quote going around regarding Brandon Ayuk and how he left off Ayuk from his mock draft to help Kyle. That could be a situation very much where Chris Sims knows Shanahan would love a type of Brandon Ayuk and maybe do little manipulation to help him out. But I don't think there is a direct relation between what Kyle Shanahan thinks and what Chris Sims puts out there. I don't think there's that, and I think that kind of put that away today.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. You know, when you walk away, after you listen to his praise of mobile quarterbacks and things like that outside of the structure, that leads you to believe that it is not Mac Jones. Fairly confident, very confident actually, that it's not Mac Jones. When you listen to what he was talking about, how he's evaluating. Big Daz brings up a good point. Thank you for the donation, bro. I appreciate it, man. Got to give Jimmy credit during this whole time. He hasn't gone to media or social media. Seems like a stand-up guy. Jimmy's got class for sure. Yeah, you know that certain players just don't care about stuff like that, and they never are on social media, and they don't pay attention to that. And you know he's gonna say all the right things, and for sure. Again, no matter what the outcome is, I just want to make sure that I'm on record here saying this. Jimmy Garoppolo deserves a lot of credit for reinvigorating this team, this fan base, and that stadium as well. And 2019 is a season that, we'll never forget for obvious reasons, and he's a part of that. So, again, no matter what happens, if it happens this week, if it happens at the end of the year, if it happens this year before the season starts, just be a little bit nicer. I understand the whole, you're excited to get, I love Justin Fields, and I think that's who the pick is also, by the way. But I mean, at this point, let's lead with class, and let's make sure that we say all the right things, because it would be wrong of us to act like we were not excited in 2019 when he was balling out.
Jimmy Garoppolo has done absolutely nothing wrong as a San Francisco 49er. I know he is a rod for attention. I know he's a point of contention for 49ers Twitter. But he has handled everything as best you can. He hasn't said anything. He's just doing his thing. And it bothers me to see how much anti-Garoppolo, because I'll be honest, I am not the most pro Jimmy Garoppolo guy there is. I am very much on the side of, of if you can upgrade, you can upgrade. And I think a lot of what he gets is just, I think a lot of it's unfair personally. I think Garoppolo has done nothing wrong to get the hate he's gotten.
Yeah.
It's not his fault he gets hurt. I know we like to use the term injury prone, but it's not his fault he gets hurt. That's not something we could be angry about. When they move off of Garoppolo, he is a guy that deserves praise from 49ers fans. That's what it is. Yes, you could say he leaves, he could be better, all this stuff. The Niners realistically gave up a second-round draft pick for him that I don't think really turned into anything for the Patriots, so it's not like the Niners missed out on somebody great. I wouldn't trade the 4 years that we've had with Garoppolo for anything. I know there's been a lot of lows, but man, that 2019 season, never going to leave the memory banks, never, ever going to leave it. So yeah, if we've seen Jimmy Garoppolo for the last time, man, nothing but love coming from this podcast. And I think that's what it should be from 49ers Twitter as well. And I know everybody's contentious because we're in it right now, but once we can step away from it, I think 49ers fans, and there's a thing I'm trying to work on as an appreciation for Jimmy Garoppolo. I just need to find the right information for if he moves. But yeah, I don't think he deserves a lot of the hate he gets. He's handled this perfectly.
Absolutely. Cynthia, I appreciate the donation as well too.
Thank you, Cynthia. This is who you go to the clubhouses for right here.
Yes.
This is who you go for the clubhouse.
Absolutely. We appreciate that. And yeah, Cynthia says, thank you. Jimmy G deserves credit for the classy way he's handled this situation. And yeah, that's it. I'm just not into revisionist history. You can't in one breath, be as happy as what happened in 2019 and not understand that he was a big part of that. And then, whatever you feel, just keep it objective. Just keep it about football. If it's about football and you want to make, like when we talk about drafting a rookie quarterback, it's just good business. We're not talking about anything personal, or anything like that. I pride myself on trying not to be a person who takes shots at players, especially players who have done, what they've done for the team. So say what you want. Honestly, 2019 is enough for me to remember him properly. And if it comes to that day, I'm going to wish him nothing but luck. And I hope that he goes somewhere where he can play and he can start and he balls out. Honestly, I really do. So that's it. You
know what? I'm going to say it. And people might disagree. Jimmy Garoppolo is in and let me finish this thought before you yell at me, please. Not you, but the chat. The chat yells at me. Jimmy Garoppolo for me is in the same space that Alex Smith, that Frank Gore, that Jameis Winston is in for me. No matter what uniform that guy puts on for the rest of his career, I'm going to cheer for him. Whether it be Frank Gore wearing an Eagles jersey for 15 minutes. I was an Eagles fan for 15 minutes because Frank Gore was an Eagle for 15 minutes. I bought a Chiefs hat because of Alex Smith. And wherever Jimmy Garoppolo goes, I will hope that team wins every week unless they play the 49ers. That's just what it is. So yes, are we done with our Jimmy Garoppolo love? Because I have another quote I wanted to touch on real quick.
Yeah, that should be it. I just want to make sure that we're clear on that. And again, we'll revisit it if and when something like that happens.
Oh yeah,
but I just want to make sure that
if Garoppolo gets moved at any point this offseason, there will be a Jimmy Garoppolo appreciation show on this podcast.
For sure.
Let's get it out there. Something I thought was interesting because we have a friend who got a lot of mean stuff said about him. This quote kind of said a lot. The question was, I think I'm connecting the dots. I don't think that it's complicated based on what you said, but I just wanted to flesh it out a bit more. Say you guys had kind of stunk it up in free agency and it didn't go well. Are you kind of saying you would look at the team and say, hey, maybe this is not a Super Bowl contender, and you would have been more apt to maybe deal Jimmy and roll with a rookie quarterback? I just want to make sure I'm following what you said. The question's kind of all over the place. And Kyle Shanahan just kind of unprompted says, quote, "You're trying to connect a lot of dots, and so have we since January. That's the problem. You're trying to decide on stuff in January. What direction do you want to go? You hear people like Stafford available. You hear people like Deshaun Watson. You go into draft, you go into free agency, blah, 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 blah." This is a pro Javi Vega podcast, and I just think it's very telling that out of all the names he could have said first, he could have said Deshaun Watson, he could have said Zach, he said Matt Stafford. Listen, that's all the confirmation I needed. The Niners were very much in on Matt Stafford, whether you like it or not. For him to unprompted say Stafford, and because that guy did not ask, hey, were you guys looking to upgrade at quarterback earlier this offseason? He just kind of said a general like, hey, if free agency didn't go great. For him to unprompted say Matt Stafford first is all you need to know. Listen,
yes, absolutely. For him unprompted to bring up Matthew Stafford is vindication. If Javier Vega wants to be super petty today, he can be very petty. I just want you to put some respect on my man's name.
Yes.
And just know that we working. That's all I want. That's it. Real quick, we have another donation real quick. I just want to make sure we get to it. Thank you, Jamal. I appreciate it. Yep. I feel like Jimmy hasn't said anything bad because there's nothing bad to be said. He just hasn't been healthy. Nothing personal. It's business. Absolutely. Completely agree with you, Jamal. 100%. But back to Javi, man.
We love you.
You're gonna stop playing with my guy, man. You really are about to stop playing with my guy, man. When he starts missing, then you want to go. But it's so funny how things come out. And I think, like I said, this was a masterclass this year in media nonsense. And people saying things in the media that are either one, pushing a narrative that they have been pushed to push, if that even makes any sense, or they're getting money to push a narrative. That's true, that happens. Or they're in a team's pocket. So like the media stuff, when people are showing me a quote, look what they said. So what? This is dangerous times. It's games that are played in the media. What are you talking about?
Everything. And I guess my point, because now we're going to wrap up the press conference, is everything you hear still at this point. Everything that was said at the press conference today was true until it's not true. And that's all it is. And yes, the Niners might have missed out on Matt Stafford. That doesn't mean that they weren't in on him. That doesn't even mean that they were this close to getting an offer done or a deal done, and the Rams jumped in late. So I just thought that was interesting that he unprompted brought up Matt Stafford like that. I thought that was interesting. Any last overarching thoughts before I get into a spiel about Mac Jones?
Yeah. Oh man, I didn't know we were doing that. No, honestly, this was a lot of fun. They pushed it up, and they sat there. They looked really happy, both of them, because I think they understand what's in front of them and what they've done and what they can do now. And you know what? You should be excited as Kyle Shanahan is, because whoever his guy is, and I'm going to let Andrew take it from here, whoever his guy is, we should be happy because we've all been imploring him to go get his guy, and it looks like this is the time right now. I want it to be Justin Fields. I still think it is Justin Fields, but I will let Andrew go into his Mac Jones spiel.
I think it's Justin Fields too. I am not sitting here and saying that it is not Justin Fields. I of my personal opinion of Justin Fields, and this is also coming from a guy who hasn't watched a ton of tape. So you can yell at me, and my opinion on this might change. From what I've seen on Mac Jones, I think Mac Jones is going to be a very good NFL quarterback. I think he is. And the comparison I made on the Clubhouse earlier today is the one I'm going to make here, just because I haven't been secretive about this. Football's my second sport. I default to baseball. So a lot of my comparisons come to baseball. What Trey Lance and Zach Wilson and Justin Fields are in this draft, my comparison I had is the San Diego Padres. And if you don't watch baseball, the San Diego Padres are a very young and exciting team. They have I guess the best comparison is they have the Patrick Mahomes of baseball is Fernando Tatis. Very young, very exciting. The sky's the limit. And that gets everybody really excited. Everybody's talking about the Padres because not only are they good, they're very, very exciting. What Mac Jones is, and this might make some of our base mad, Jason, Mac Jones is the Oakland A's. The Oakland A's have been a very, very good franchise for a few years now, consistently in the playoffs. They just don't have the appeal. They're just kind of a general boring team. And living in the Bay Area, I know how exciting the A's are. The A's have been more fun to watch than the Giants. But in terms of the national spotlight, the A's aren't viewed as one of those exciting teams. That's what Mac Jones is. He's very good. He doesn't have that appeal. So yes, I know he's not exciting to take at 3. And do I think Mac Jones is a reach at 3? Yes. But to sit back and say Mac Jones is a bad pick at 3, I think it's a little bit of a lie to yourself. I just think everybody else is so much more excited with the names of Trey Lance and Justin Fields and Zach Wilson that, that quarterback from Alabama kind of falls back. That's all.
So,
That's all I want to say. That is not an endorsement of Mac Jones at 3. I would have felt way more comfortable with Mac Jones at 12. But there's a lot worse you can do at 3 than Mac Jones. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't want him at 3, and it's always just been about, it's not
I don't
about
want him at 3 either. Don't get me wrong.
It's all about the talent. It's not that. It's just at the spot. That's it. It's not about. I mean, it's not about the talent. It's about the spot. And 3 is too high. So let's just say hypothetical. Please don't yell at me. Please. I want Justin Fields. I'm like I'm basically a Justin Fields stan account at this point on Twitter.
Yes.
But let's just say hypothetically Mac Jones is the pick. Let me take you through my range of emotions because I've already figured it out.
Do we want to spoil the live draft show if it does happen?
No, because you're going to see. I'm talking about this is me over weeks. 1, immense anger on air. Immense anger. Jason Rant. 2, acceptance. 3, thinking through it and saying 4, I trust Kyle Shanahan and that's his guy and I don't care. I may not like it, but I will go through all 4 stages of that. If that is the pick, just because, again, I want who I want. Doesn't matter who I want. Mm-hmm. If that's who you want, I'll just have to deal with it, even if I cry about it a little.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I stand too. Like, yes, it's not the greatest pick, but this is really the first time I feel like Kyle Shanahan gets his pick at quarterback. I think this is the first time he gets his pick at quarterback. And I think I'm safe to say, I don't think I'm going out on a limb here. The Sprint Right Option podcast endorses Justin Fields as the 3rd pick. I think that's the official endorsement. I will go get the political sign you put on your lawn. I'll put that in my front yard. Let everybody know. I think Justin Fields is the option. I think he's the best pick. And I will. And the nice thing, Jason, is I will have more of an opinion on that when I watch all the tape. It's just from what I've seen, what I've read. I like to read things too. I like to see what other people think, use their opinions to kind of help mold mine. But I'm very excited to watch the tape. I'm excited to watch Fields. Very excited. I think I'm more excited to watch Zach Wilson just to be like, man, he's really good. Sucks we probably won't get him. That's cool. So that's what it is. Listen, I'm still riding high from Friday in that trade. I think this is a very good time for 49ers Twitter. I know we've kind of fallen back down to earth a little bit from the high of the trade on Friday.
Now we're just arguing about who it should be.
Now I kind of miss the Jimmy Garoppolo talk now because there's a lot more going on now because like the conversation before was yes or no. Like, do you want to trade Jimmy Garoppolo? And there's only 2 options. Now there's like 7 and it's very overwhelming. There's a lot going on. But I'm excited. It's an exciting time.
So that's the thing, right? And here's why it's not Mac Jones. Let me calm everybody down.
Let's calm down.
Mac Jones's comparisons are Kirk Cousins, Matt Ryan, even Jimmy Garoppolo gets floated. You didn't trade up from 12 to 3 to get someone who's similarly skilled as the guy that you have. So, and again, when you listen to Coach talk about how he's evaluating that Mahomes line is the one that really like everybody wants that. So now this is a home run pick. Yeah. So I think that we can safely say that Mac Jones is off the board. Go do your due diligence and go see him throw. He better have the greatest pro day in the history of the world. Like you better throw him out there against like 11 defenders by himself and he better complete every single pass without them even touching him. That would be the only way for that. So I want to quell that out based on putting the pieces together, listening to what they're saying and listening to what you think that Kyle has watched Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, all these guys kick this defense in the teeth with the way that they can move in the pocket and not say, I want one of those.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I guess my final thought on the Mac Jones take, and I'll leave it up to other people's research too, because I want people to form their own opinions. I don't want to peddle conspiracy theories on this podcast.
Here we go.
What jersey number does Jimmy Garoppolo wear?
10.
What number does Mac Jones wear?
10.
Oh, there we go. Connect the dots. That's all I'm going to leave it at.
Somebody asked him.
Go do your own research.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody asked in here also, if let's say the Jets take Justin Fields at 2. I'm fine with Zach Wilson at 3.
Oh man, listen. Man, that's like asking like, hey, which like all-time basketball team? Do you want the 90s Bulls or the 2010 Warriors? You can't really go wrong with either pick. Just whatever one falls to me, I'll gladly take the one you don't take. So yeah, Zach Wilson's definitely up there. I think Zach Wilson's going to the Jets, and so that'll leave the conversation at Mac Jones, Trey Lance, or Justin Fields. And Jason, I got good news for you. We have a whole month to answer that question, so we don't have to answer it today.
Yeah, we don't. But that's the part. So again, this is the beauty part about being at 3. So you're the kid in the candy store. You get to sit there and you're like, hey, who are we gonna get? So this is a good question, and I think we could wrap it up right now.
We'll wrap it up on this question.
Yeah, absolutely. John V, thank you again for the donation, bro. Really appreciate you, bro. That's my guy. Fellas, if the Stafford trade happened, would we even have had a shot to go younger towards the future, making the move to 3? How do you feel about that now? Honestly, everything happens for a reason. Seriously. I mean, honestly, it's so true. So look. So
I didn't expect you to go that route. That's all. I'm laughing because I didn't expect that to be the answer. Live, laugh, love, Jason.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything happens for a reason, and here's why. So if Stafford went to, let's just say, I don't know, let's just throw out a random team. Let's just say Stafford went to Philadelphia, right? Philly. Don't know why they would do that. I just randomly threw out a name. I don't think Kyle Shanahan would have been motivated to do anything immediately or try to change or try to move up, right?
Yeah.
But when you see the arms race that's going on in the NFC West when it comes to quarterbacks, then when you see Matt Stafford join a play caller like Sean McVay, now it forces your hand. So everything definitely happened for a reason because he ended up with the Rams. And Kyle looked and said, okay, this is it now. Now I have to, we have to figure this out. So, you miss out on Stafford. Now you have to really put this team in position to win. And how do you do that? You get younger. And again, this is why they had to do this now. I don't suspect this team is going to be drafting at 12 for quite some time. Now. So this is the only time that you would have had a position to do this. So the Matthew Stafford trade to LA might have put the 49ers on the correct path and finally got them going where they need to go.
Well, if you really want to start it, this all started with Laramie Tunsil smoking weed. That's where this all started. I feel uncomfortable answering this question because this is very much hindsight's 2020. Because I think if we're sitting here March 29th and saying Matthew Stafford is the 49ers starting quarterback, like trading up to 3 isn't an option because I don't even think they have the 12th pick in that situation. And it makes it hard. I think if you told me Matt Stafford's the 49ers quarterback, I would feel very comfortable. I think that would kick the Super Bowl window wide open, at least for a few more years. I don't think wide open would be the right word, but it would be more open than it would be now. But now that we can sit back and say, hey, they missed out on Matt Stafford, now they have a chance to go get their guy. I feel good. Like you're kind of asking me like, hey, what candy do you want today? Right? Like, do you want the Reese's or do you want the like white chocolate Reese's? I'm like, they're roughly the same thing. It's just one's a little different than the other. That's kind of what that is. And in case you're wondering, the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup mascot's name is Cuppy. That's a callback. But yeah, that's kind of my thing. Is like if you told me last Wednesday that the Niners quarterback was Matt Stafford, I wouldn't even be thinking about rookie quarterbacks this year. But the Niners quarterback isn't Matt Stafford right now, so I'm feeling pretty good with where they're at. Does that make sense?
No, it definitely does, and it's a good point by John because like I said, everything happens for a reason. Live, laugh, love, all that stuff.
Live, laugh, love.
Yeah.
What other generic sayings can we say?
Live and let live.
Live and let live.
Do more of the things that make you happy.
If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
And we'll finish on this one, and then we'll wrap it up. If you love something, let it go, and if it comes back, it was always there to stay for the whole time.
Can we just do this like for the next 20 minutes? Just like name generic motivational quotes. Hey, Jason, never forget, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Well, what is it? Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott. Got an Office reference in. This podcast has officially gone off the rails. It has.
As the adult I am, I'm going to say we're going to call it here.
Yep.
Is that fair?
Absolutely.
Is that fair to
Absolutely.
say?
For sure.
Nate, yes, I am wearing a Seattle Kraken hat. Get over it. That's going to be it. Jason, we'll be back Friday.
Friday, closer to Friday. Yes.
Closer to Friday. Whatever. That's all I'm going to say is, whatever. That's my exact take on that.
Whatever.
That's it. Jason, as always.
Let's go Niners.
Let's go San Francisco 49ers, huh?